Today, let's get out and about and go to the beautiful town of Brixham to do a little bit of celebratory stitching. Hello and welcome back to a Kooky Corner of YouTube. Today we're going to be making something celebratory. And why are we doing that? Well, I have now gone past my 15,000 subscribers, and that has made me very happy and in a mood to celebrate. And what better way to celebrate than a slow stitched project? In fact, a slow stitched celebration hat, which is what I have here. So let me take you up a little to my messy desk area. So I have got a pattern for this, which is on my Facebook group. Now I have a group on there. It's called Cool Kooky Creatures, but it's a group and not me as an artist. It's two separate things. I'll leave a link in the description box below. If you are a subscriber here and also a member of the Facebook group, then the little pattern that I'll put up there will be free for you in the files. So that's a little incentive there. If you'd like to go and join me over there, we can get to know each other a little better and we can share all our makes together. Anyway, that's by the by. So here is the hat. It is made of a cone shape. So if you wanted to draw your own, I'm sure you could come up with something. It has been covered in my usual fashion. It has a pom-pom and it also has tassels on the bottom. You can do it in whatever colourway you like. I've just gone crazy with the bits that I had on my desk at the time for this one. I'm going to be going through the basics of making another one with you in this video. So if you want to know how to put your own together, stay tuned, and I'll be showing you from my outdoor studio. We went out in the camper van and I took it with me so that I could show you how to put it together. Unfortunately, I couldn't do a voice along with it, so it's going to have to be a voiceover, I'm afraid, because the noise was horrendous outside, what with seagulls screeching and children screaming and dogs barking, etc. So I'm going to voice it over for you so that you'll be able to actually hear what's going on. But it's really simple, and I will show you all the things that you're going to need to make your own celebration hat. And let's face it, every day is something we can celebrate. It's always a celebration. Birthdays, apart from birthdays, other things, you could have anniversaries, you could have, it could be Christmas, you could make a Christmas hat, you could do a Halloween hat in all those beautiful orange and blacks and greens that we have at Halloween. It really is up to you. This hat is multi-versatile. You can make a hat for anything. Make a hat for International Dog Day or something. So I'm going to swap over to my outdoor studio now. So come along with me on a little trip and I'll show you where I went. So here are the things we're going to need in order to make the hat. You're going to need a good pair of scissors or shears. I've got my shears and I've got my small embroidery needles here. You're going to need a needle. This one that I've got here is a chenille needle, but you can use whatever size fits for your purpose. I'm going to use some thicker thread, so that's good. I've got my applique pins. I've got a selection of threads. Pick what you've got. Anything will do just to get your slow stitching pieces secured down to the felt base. I've picked out a selection of fabrics I'd like to use in this piece. I'm going for blues and greens. This is my felt template. This is a 1mm thick felt template with a little lip on the end so that you can join it when you finish doing your sewing. I do the sewing first and then join it all together at the end. So the first thing you need to do is to set out your pieces. So I'm selecting pieces that I think will go really nicely together, laying them out, auditioning them on the piece, seeing how they go. If I don't like it, we can move them around a bit. Don't worry if they overhang your piece. It really doesn't matter if it overhangs on the bottom or on one edge. But just make sure that you're not covering the edge, the little flap on the side, the little lip on the side where we're going to join it. That is just going to be a joining part, so you don't need to add any material onto that bit, which is why I folded it over so you could see where it is and where it isn't. Bear in mind where the centre of your hat is going to be, because that's where the focal point is going to be seen more than anywhere else. So think about that when you're placing your fabrics. I've got quite a few different ones here that I'm really enjoying looking at, and they're going together quite nicely. So I'm placing them, moving them around, making sure that they all fit on nicely and they're looking good together. To make it easier here, I've used 2 clips to fold over that lip so that we can actually see where the middle is and where we don't need to be pinning, which is that flap on the end. That's going to be used to join the pieces, so we don't need to worry about that. I've got some really nice blues and greens here that I'm laying down, and it's one of those things where you can do whatever you like with the fabrics you've got. You don't have to do these colours. You can do your own colourway, match it up for whatever celebration that you are going to be wearing your hat for. It could be a birthday, it could be Christmas, so you could do Christmas colours. It really is up to you. You could do it specifically for someone. You could put their initial on there, on the front of here, if that's what you wanted to do. But it really is one of those lovely whimsical things that we like to do here on the Kooky channel. And just, oh, it's a nice big bit there, so I'm putting that down on one side. And then I'm going to lay the other bits on top of it. I'm going to play around with this for a while, to be honest. It's one of those things that I have the most pleasure with, is placing the fabrics and making sure that they all go together nicely. Also, I'm going to cut out some of the circular pieces. If you see that one in the middle, there's some like medallion-y kind of pieces that you can make or take advantage of. So if you've got things like that, or flowers or something like this blue here, just cut round the medallions and use those in your piece. That's a really nice way to use them as well. While we're placing the pieces, I'll just explain a little bit more about how this goes together. So we're going to stitch this down in the usual fashion. And when I say usual fashion, I mean my way of doing this, which is to running stitch along all the pieces on your base, going up and down it, or side to side, or in this case I'm going to do like little semicircles around the pieces to hold it down. And then we're going to go in with more detail, so going around the edges, making sure all the pieces are down nice and securely, adding some decorative stitches in if you want to. Then on top of that, I go in with some appliqued felt pieces or appliqued medallion pieces, just to put those on there and to give it some decoration, really. I eventually will go in with a little bit of glitz as well once all the stitching's done. So that's part of my decoration. You don't have to do that. You do whatever makes you happy. You can make yours a lot different to mine, and it will still look beautiful. All your front part done. I'm explaining this now so that you'll know later on when we go along. You can have an option of lining your hat if you want to, and we do that before we attach it together. We keep it in the flat and we'll do a lining piece for it, but I'll show you that as we go along. It's an option, you don't have to do it. This stiff felt that I'm using here, it is a stiff 1mm felt. It's not flimsy, it's kind of like an interfacing really. It's got that kind of stiffness to it, and that's what you want to be looking for in your base. You could actually use an interfacing if you wanted to. I've just used this because it's got some colour to it, and it kind of, if I've got tiny little gaps, it's not going to look out of place. And it's a really handy thing to have in your stash of fabrics to stitch on. So I tend to keep a big batch of this. If you've made my bud vases, they're made from this kind of material. And so they keep their shape, and that's why I like this particular felt. It's not got any wool in it. I think it's just basically an acrylic felt. Just putting the final pieces in now. I'll probably have another play around with this, and I'll be back to show you what I've got. So here it is. I've pinned it all down. I've trimmed where the overhang is of the fabric. So I've gone around the edges and trimmed it so that it's fitting perfectly onto the piece I've got now. The next job is to running stitch all of this down. This kind of unifies a piece, so you pick a thread that you're going to enjoy seeing because it's going to be visible. One that kind of tones in with all of the materials you've got. I've gone with this kind of an aqua green thread, and I'm going to split this out because it is an embroidery floss. I'm going to use 2 strands of this to do my running stitches with. Pull them out one by one. This is my way of not getting tangled, even though it's slightly tangled a little bit, but it's so much better to do the one by one thing. Here's a tricky bit, threading the needle on a camera. Luckily I've got my chenille needle, so it's not going to be too much of a problem. So yes, getting your needle threaded. See, simples. Knot in the end. I do my rolly knot on the end of there. And we're ready to stitch. I'm starting up at this top end here. You can start wherever you like. I think on the first one I started at the bottom, so it really doesn't matter where you want to start. You pick and just go with it. And I am going to go around that bottom curved edge. That's where I'm starting, and I'm just going to do a running stitch along there. And then when I get to the end, I'll turn around and come back the other way, leaving about, I don't know, 1 centimetre, 1/2 inch gap. And then just keep doing that until your piece is filled with running stitch. So you're just going to cover the whole thing with a running stitch, and that will unify your whole piece. There we go. Once that's done, you're ready to start going into your piece with your stitches. So I stitch around all the little shapes now to make sure that they're all down securely, and all around those medallions. And that will keep you busy for a while. When all that's stitched down, what we need to do now, if you want to, this is the optional part, is the lining. So you cut out a piece of fabric that is 1 centimetre bigger than your base, all the way around, and then we just fold it over and clip it. So now with the stitching all done, all you need to do now is to put your cone together. So the little flap is there on the inside, and I've kind of held it together and overstitched it all the way along the edge. Before I did that, I went round each of the edges and did a blanket stitch. So you can see on this piece here, I blanket stitched that edge and I've blanket stitched all the way around the bottom, even though you can't see it now because I put the trim on it, but it will keep it together. If you look on the inside, you can see the blanket stitching going around the edge there. So blanket stitch the edge, blanket stitch the edge, then fold it into its cone shape. You might want to use some clips to help you with that. The clips are your friend, and they will hold it in place while you stitch up that little flap that we left clear. And once you've done that, you can attach your pom-pom and your trim, and you're ready to go. If you want to put the elastic in, I do that on the sides. It's marked on the pattern where you can put your elastic in on the sides, ready to put under your chin. If you don't want to do that, you could put ribbons in the same places and then tie them. You could leave it off altogether if you needed to and then just hold it on with clips. It really is up to you. But that's it, completed. And here's the hat that I made when I was out and about. I did stitching, so all the usual things that I do. So stitching along, you can see that stitch there, all the way around it when it's in a flat state, as I showed you on the video. Stitch it, stitch everything in the flat state, and then you can do the other bits as you do them. There's nothing I add on apart from the pom-pom trim and the trim at the bottom when everything's finished. So everything gets done all at once. Now, I showed you how to put the lining on and then just stitch it in. It's just basically you cut out a piece of material that is bigger by the template for about 1 centimetre all the way around it, or ½ an inch, whatever you want to use as a measurement, just so that you've got enough to turn it under, clip it on, and then over sew it. So that's the way to finish it off. Also, I've got my little doodads on here. I've added in the little felt pieces like I did on this one. That's got extra stitching on. I've also got my glitzy bits, because would it be a Kooky creation if it didn't have glitz on it? Answer is no. Always no. It needs a little bit of something for me. But for you, you don't have to. You know, you do you. You do your colours the way you want it. You don't have to add any of the trim on if you don't want to. You don't have to add a pom-pom if you don't want to. I did, just because it's me and I like fancy. So yes, this is some trim that I got from that lovely place in Dewsbury called Fabworks, and they have the most beautiful trims in there that I love to pieces. So it went really well with this colourway, so it went on. And then I just made myself a little pom-pom to go on top. So if you've got a pom-pom maker, you can make your own pom-pom as well. But I am really pleased with these. I like these. Also added in a piece of elastic, you know, the generic piece of elastic that goes around your chin and cuts into your face. But again, you cut it for the length you want. You don't have to do that. If that affects you, then you could put some ribbon on, just tie it underneath, or you could just place it on your head and put it in place with grips, or I think it's bobby pins, is that the US term for hair grips, or slides, things like that, hair slides, to keep it in place that way. You know, there are many ways you can wear a hat without using the elastic, but I have the elastic and I don't mind suffering the elastic under my chin. But I know some people don't like that. But you know, you do you again as to the wearing of your hat. If you do make a hat, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see what you do, and I'd love you to show me pictures. And now we have the best way, which is being in the Facebook group. Instagram was not playing with me very well when we were doing sharing of things. But if you're in the Facebook group and you've made one of these and you want to show me, then please do. I'd be so happy to see some people making their own version of this, doing their own thing with it, running wild with it. You can do it however you want to. But the basis is just slow stitching as a background and then just forming it into a hat. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you again if you are a subscriber of mine. It could be a cone bra like Madonna's. Okay, I'm in for seeing that as well. Yeah, so if you if you are one of my subscribers and you are also in the Facebook group, and I know my lovely cheerleaders in the background, and I am so thankful for you. I can't even tell you. It's just so nice to have a group of people where we can just share all our makes and we all support each other. And if you want to be part of it, go to the description box below, click on the link. There are some questions you have to answer. You also have to be subscribed here too in order to get in. That is a given. So if you are, great, pop over and join us. Come and join us. We can have a celebration every day. Anyway, that's enough from me. Hope to see you back here soon with something else very soon. Bye for now.